In recent weeks, a significant controversy has erupted surrounding Kristi Noem, the Secretary of Homeland Security, amid mounting political tensions and intense media scrutiny. Noem, a prominent figure aligned with the Trump administration's hardline stance on immigration and law enforcement, finds herself at the center of a highly charged political debate that underscores the polarized nature of American politics today. The controversy stems largely from her unwavering support for the administration's policies on border security and immigration enforcement. Critics accuse her of politicizing the department's efforts, framing her actions as part of a broader campaign to crack down on illegal immigration, while supporters praise her for her dedication to national security and law enforcement. Recently, President Donald Trump issued a direct order to DHS Secretary Kristi Noem, emphasizing that under no circumstances should her department intervene in protests that are controlled by Democratic-led cities unless explicitly asked for assistance. The president's directive underscores a contentious approach to civil unrest, arguing that DHS should avoid intervening in protests unless they are requested to do so, thus potentially limiting federal intervention in politically charged demonstrations. This directive was announced amid protests that have often turned violent, with some demonstrations involving clashes with law enforcement and calls for federal action. The president's stance signals a move towards a more restrained federal presence in these protests, framing the issue as one of respecting local authorities while focusing federal resources elsewhere. Noem's narrative emphasizes that her department has interdicted vast quantities of drugs across land and maritime borders, saving countless lives and reducing drug trafficking, particularly of fentanyl, which she notes has decreased by nearly 60% at the southern border. She credits these successes to a focus on strategic enforcement and the deployment of specialized units within DHS, including IC, Customs and Border Protection, and Coast Guard operations targeting illegal shipping and trafficking routes. In her interviews, Noem also addressed the issue of child trafficking, pointing to specific achievements. She claims that, under her leadership, there has been a dramatic reduction in trafficked children crossing the border, over 125,000 children trafficked in a single year under the previous administration, compared to zero in recent months. She insists that her department has located and returned almost 150,000 children to their families, either through direct reunification efforts or by locating their parents, even amid the chaos of the border crisis. However, critics question these claims, arguing that the narrative is overly optimistic and potentially misleading. They point to ongoing humanitarian concerns and the complexities of border enforcement, suggesting that the situation remains dire with ongoing migrant flows and trafficking issues. Adding fuel to the fire, a highly publicized incident involving a 5-year-old child in Minneapolis has become a focal point of political debate. The child's father was detained by IC, and the child was left to run away on foot. When IC officials attempted to locate the child's mother, she refused to open the door, creating a tragic and emotionally charged scene. A judge later ordered the child's release, citing that the parents had abandoned him and that the government's actions were based on an ill-conceived and incompetent pursuit, an assertion that Noem and her department strongly defend. Noem's defenders argue that such cases are misrepresented by the media and that her department operates within the bounds of the law, offering families opportunities to stay together and return voluntarily to their home countries. She emphasizes that her department provides financial incentives, such as a $2,600 payment and a plane ticket, to encourage illegal immigrants to self-deport, and that millions have taken advantage of this voluntary program. Despite these assertions, critics accuse her of overreach and of employing heavy-handed tactics that harm innocent families. They contend that her department's aggressive enforcement policies contribute to traumatizing migrant children and families, and that judicial decisions sometimes undermine efforts to uphold law and order. In her recent interviews, Kristi Noem has also addressed the morale within DHS. She reports that her department remains highly motivated and proud of its accomplishments. She highlights that applications for immigration and law enforcement positions have surged, with tens of thousands of applications pouring in from individuals eager to serve under a leadership committed to securing the homeland. Nevertheless, she faces fierce opposition from Democrats and civil liberties advocates who have recently called for her resignation. They criticize her labeling of individuals like Alex Pretty, involved in protests, as domestic terrorists. Noem defends her stance, asserting that her department is committed to protecting the nation from threats, both foreign and domestic, and that her actions are informed by thorough investigations, with the FBI leading inquiries into protests and allegations of funding and fraud. Her critics point out that her language and policies have escalated tensions, with some Democrats, including House Minority Leader Hakeem Jeffries, threatening to impeach her over her remarks and policies. Noem maintains that her focus remains on safeguarding Americans and that her department's transparency has been unwavering, even amid the political storm. Amid this political turbulence, Noem has also overseen FEMA's response to natural disasters, including winter storms and severe weather events. She touts her department's rapid response capabilities, pre-deploying resources, such as meals and generators, to affected states, arguing that her leadership has improved FEMA's efficiency and responsiveness significantly compared to previous administrations. She underscores the importance of proper funding for DHS and FEMA, emphasizing that these agencies are vital for national security, disaster response, and the maintenance of critical infrastructure. She warns that defunding or neglecting these agencies would be catastrophic, leaving the nation vulnerable to both natural and man-made crises. In summary, Kristi Noem's role as DHS Secretary is emblematic of the deep political divisions in America today. Her unwavering support for strict immigration enforcement, her defense of controversial policies, and her focus on national security and disaster response have made her a polarizing figure. While she champions her department's achievements and the success of the Trump administration's strategies, she also faces relentless criticism from opposition voices who question her methods and motives. This ongoing saga underscores the broader debates shaping American politics, about security versus civil liberties, federal authority versus states' rights, and the human cost of enforcement policies. As the nation continues to grapple with these issues, Noem's leadership remains a focal point in the complex and often contentious landscape of current world politics.